I got home early from a business trip, but the key wouldn't turn in the lock. It was jammed. I called my wife, but she said she was out for a run with her best friend and told me to check into the hotel next door for the night. She'd be over to join me in a little while. I was about to give up when I remembered I'd left my work laptop with a critical presentation for a meeting tomorrow morning. Inside, I had no choice. I called a locksmith. After he got the door open, what I found inside made me question my entire life. After graduating from college, I started a small tech company. While I was pulling a decent 6 figures a month, I was working like a dog. Then, I ran into Laura, the girl everyone wanted in college. We hit it off immediately, and since my family was pressuring me to settle down, I asked her out. I honestly expected her to turn me down, but she broke the mold and said yes right away. It was a total shock. After all, I'd asked her out more than once in college, and she'd shot me down every single time. But the shock quickly turned to elation. We walked down the aisle and started what I thought was a happy life together. 3 years later, at my best friend David Miller's birthday party, a bunch of us got wasted, and he told me a secret. After everyone else had left, David pulled me aside and handed me a cigarette, lighting one for himself. "Buddy, I've got to tell you something. I just hope you don't hate me for it afterward." Hearing that, I knew it had to be serious. I nodded slowly. "Relax, man. We're best friends. Anything you do, I know you're looking out for me. Why would I blame you?" David hesitated for a second, then finally laid it all out. The reason Laura kept turning me down in college was because of her childhood sweetheart, Victor Vance. The two of them were already a serious item back then. Someone had even seen them checking into a motel together. Hearing that, a sour feeling twisted in my gut. But then I thought about it. Victor knew Laura before I did. It was only natural that they were together. I was the latecomer. I had no right to dig up the past. That just wouldn't be fair. I try to play it cool. Hey, what's past is past. If I can be with Laura now, I guess I have Victor to thank. If they hadn't broken up, I never would have had a shot, right? David just gave me a bitter smile. "Mike, I'm telling you this because you need to know. The only reason Laura married you is because Victor cheated on her. He left her for some rich girl and moved abroad with her." What? Suddenly, it all clicked into place. It made perfect, brutal sense. Her childhood sweetheart leaves her, and suddenly Laura, adrift and alone, decides to finally give me a chance. Or, to put it another way, with her first choice gone, I became a consolation prize. Seeing the stunned look on my face, David kept going. "Look, I'm not telling you this to drive a wedge between you two. I just thought you deserved to know the whole story. Now it's off my chest, and I won't feel so guilty if something happens down the line." Damn, he was right. If the roles were reversed, I would have done the same thing. That night, I told him it was no big deal, but I ended up getting blackout drunk. David had to carry me home. The next morning, I woke up and tried to forget the whole thing. Laura and I had been together for years. We had a real connection, and I wasn't going to let her past destroy our future. That's why David had waited so long to tell me. Life went on, and our relationship stayed strong. For a while now, I've been pushing for us to have a kid. We weren't getting any younger, and it felt like the right time to start a family. But Laura always shut it down. Her excuse was always the same. We were still young, and we should enjoy a few more years of freedom. I didn't think much of it. She was a great wife, and having a baby was a two-person decision. I couldn't exactly force her. Then, a few weeks ago, a miracle. Laura came to me and said she was tired of waiting. She wanted to have a baby to give the Shaw family an heir. I was overjoyed. But business is business, and a trip I had scheduled for months couldn't be changed. I had to pass up the opportunity, promising her that as soon as I got back from my overseas trip, we'd start trying for a baby. The trip was supposed to last over a month, but I managed to wrap things up a few days early. I did the math and realized I'd be back right during Laura's ovulation window. To make it a surprise, I didn't tell her I was coming home. When I got to my front door and put the key in a lock, I was met with a frustrating scrape of metal on metal. It wouldn't budge. After wrestling with it for a minute, I gave up. Was a lock broken? I tried a few more times, but it was useless. I had no choice but to call Laura. It was almost 10 o'clock at night. She should have been home, probably asleep. We hadn't seen each other in over a month. I figured we were both more than ready for a reunion. I called her 3 times, but it went straight to voicemail. Damn it, she couldn't be that sound asleep. Could she? Son of a bitch. What a welcome home. I should have just told her I was coming. I jammed the key in the lock a few more times, hoping for a different result, then dialed her number again. This time, thankfully, she picked up. Hello? Honey? What's wrong? Why are you calling so late? Laura, I'm home early. I'm standing outside the front door, but my key isn't working. Can you come let me in? I said, my voice tight with impatience. Oh, there was a sharp intake of breath on her end, and then silence. but I could hear her breathing, and it was fast and shallow. Laura? What's wrong? Don't scare me. I was getting genuinely worried now. Honey, say something. Oh, Michael, I'm so sorry. With you gone, I got so bored by myself at home. I decided to stay with my friend for a couple of days. We're actually out for a run right now. When you called, it startled me and I tripped, really twisted my ankle. She paused, catching her breath. Listen, it'll take me a while to get back from her place. Since you can't get in, why don't you just get a room at the hotel next door? These next couple of days are my ovulation window, you know? Maybe we'll finally get lucky. What? A hotel? That wasn't a bad idea. Things at home had gotten a little routine. I'd heard that a change of scenery could spice things up, even increase the chances of conceiving. Laura was always full of ideas. The thought of it immediately lifted my spirits. Okay, I'll book a room right now. I'll text you the number as soon as I have it. You get back here as fast as you can. You hear me? I will. Ow, easy, that hurts. Honey, I gotta go. I'll head over as soon as I finish my run. You wait for me. Click. She hung up. I didn't think much of it, figuring she must have bumped her injured ankle again. I turned to walk toward the hotel next door. I'd only taken a few steps when thoughts stopped me cold. I had a huge presentation at 9 a.m. tomorrow, and all my files, my notes, everything was on my work laptop sitting on the desk inside. Checking into a hotel was fine, but I had to get that laptop. What was I going to do? After racking my brain, I realized there was only one solution. I had to call a locksmith, grab my laptop, and then head to the hotel. With a plan in place, I found a 24-hour locksmith on my phone and made the call. Before long, the locksmith arrived. Sorry for the wait, boss. Traffic was a nightmare. Let me get this door open for you. He fiddled with his tools for a moment, then looked up at me, completely baffled. Hey man, sorry, but I gotta ask. Is this your place? Have you been drinking? You sure you got the right apartment? What? What was that supposed to mean? Whose apartment did he think it was? Did he think I was crazy? I shot him an irritated look. Of course it's my place. You think I get my kicks calling locksmiths in the middle of the night? Besides, this isn't cheap. You're charging me $200. You think I've got money to burn? The locksmith let out a nervous chuckle, and his expression turned awkward. Sorry, boss, it's just, your door isn't broken. It's been bolted from the inside. That's why I had to ask. What? Bolted from the inside? How was that possible? I wasn't home, and Laura was with her friend. Was my apartment haunted? I was completely stunned, muttering to myself. No way. There's no one home. Could I have messed up the lock somehow? Maybe by trying to force it, I accidentally engaged the bolt. The locksmith leaned in and sniffed, and after confirming I didn't smell of alcohol, he seemed to relax a little. You're sober, so you know what you're doing. It must be a problem with the lock itself. Look, just to be safe, we need to sign a liability waiver. It says that no matter what, you're responsible for this, and I'm not liable for anything that happens. You know how it is, we're registered with the police. If something goes wrong, it's our necks on the line. Damn, he had a point. I was in a hurry to get my laptop, so I agreed immediately. We both signed the waiver on his tablet. Seeing the signed agreement, the locksmith seemed relieved. Just as he was about to start, he paused again, clearing his throat. And, per company policy, boss, you have to pay up front. Hope you understand. His behavior was starting to make me uneasy, but then again, he was dealing with a door that was supposedly locked from the inside. It made sense he'd be cautious. He was probably worried I'd refuse to pay after he did the work. Business is business. You can't be too careful. I nodded and sent him the money through a payment app. The locksmith gave a satisfied nod, pulled a different set of specialized tools from his bag, and in less than 30 seconds, the lock clicked open. The moment the door swung inward, he quickly packed up his bag, hurried toward the elevator, and called over his shoulder, "Good luck, boss." Jesus, that was a little over the top, but at least he was efficient. You too, I mumbled back. I walked into the living room. The lights were on. I stood there confused. She'd been gone for 2 days and hadn't turned off the lights? How careless. I dropped my suitcase and walked toward the bedroom. Just as I reached for the doorknob, I heard a woman's voice from inside. Yes, faster. What? That voice was unmistakable. It was Laura. After all these years, I knew every sound she made. And that was the exact thing she always said, her voice breathy, right when she was about to. Wait, wasn't Laura at her friend's house? Why was she in her bedroom? And why was the door bolted? Most importantly, her voice on the phone just now. It sounded strange, off. That combined with the sounds I was hearing now, the bolted door, and the locksmith's bizarre behavior. One single, devastating thought hit me like a physical blow. I was being cheated on. Son of a bitch. I gave her everything. How could she do this to me? What was I supposed to do now? Pretend I heard nothing, walk away, check into the hotel, and wait for her to show up for round 2? Or storm in there and give them a lesson they would never forget? After a moment's hesitation, I chose the latter. I am not a coward. Even if it killed me, I had to know the truth. I had to see for myself who had the gall to sneak into my home the moment I was away. I threw open the bedroom door and froze. The scene in front of me knocked the wind out of my lungs. A small, hopeful part of me had prayed it was all a misunderstanding. But seeing the two of them in my bed, that hope evaporated into thin air. Everything was real. A man and a woman, tangled together, lost in their own world. The woman was Laura. The man was her childhood sweetheart, Victor Vance. Laura shrieked when she saw me, scrambling to hide herself. Her mind was clearly racing. The door was bolted. She'd sent me to a hotel. How could I possibly be here? It was like she'd seen a ghost. Victor just looked at me, his face a mask of pathetic embarrassment, frozen on the spot. That's when I snapped. I ignored Laura completely, clenched my fists, and charged straight for Victor. Guilt made him a coward. He barely put up a fight as I rained punch after punch on him, knocking him to the ground. After a brutal beating that left his face swollen and bruised, I finally felt a sliver of satisfaction. I stood over him, breathing heavily. Get out, and don't ever let me see you again. If I do, I'll beat you to a pulp every single time. Having vented some of my rage, I let the bastard go. As much as I wanted to kill him for what they'd done, I wasn't about to throw my life away over it. I hated him, but I wasn't insane. After Victor scrambled out of the apartment, I finally turned my attention to Laura. She was huddled on the bed, clutching a sheet to her body, sobbing. Michael, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again, I promise. Never again. She brought him into our home, into our bed. What was there left that she wouldn't dare to do? Did she really think I believe her? A question suddenly surfaced in my mind. Wasn't Victor supposed to be overseas? When did he get back? And another thing. I'd wanted kids for years, and she always refused. Now, all of a sudden, she was desperate to have one. Were the two connected? Victor comes back. She starts screwing around with him, gets pregnant with his child, and plans to pass it off as mine, making me the sucker who raises it. The more I thought about it, the hotter my anger burned. I shot her a look of pure disgust and walked out of the room. I couldn't stay in that house. If I did, I was afraid I might actually kill her. Once I was outside, the cold night air helped clear my head. This wasn't some random fling. It was a conspiracy, and I would make them both pay for it. But I had to be smart about it, or I'd be the one who lost everything. Right, David? David wasn't just my friend. He was a private investigator. He owned his own agency. This was exactly his line of work. And now that I thought about it, he'd been acting weird lately, making strange, pointed jokes. He'd even given me a gag gift a while back, a baseball cap, a green one. At the time, I didn't get it. Now, thinking back, I realized he'd been trying to warn me. I'd been too stupid to see it. It was the middle of the night, but I called David. He didn't ask any questions, just told me to meet him at a bar. That's a true friend. We sat there for a while, not saying much. After a few drinks, David finally broke the silence. So, you finally figured it out? I looked at him, my voice raw. When did you know? And why didn't you just tell me? Why let me keep being a fool? David took a long swallow of his drink. I found out right after I told you about their history. At first, I just saw them meeting up, looking close, but I didn't have proof they were doing anything more, so I didn't want to say anything concrete. Then, when I knew they were sleeping together, I tried to drop hints. But you just weren't picking up on them. I figured there was nothing I could do but let it play out. I knew it was a ticking time bomb, and you'd find out eventually. He continued. At first, they were careful. Cheap motels, secluded spots out in the woods, by the river, places where there are no records, no witnesses. But after a while, they got cocky. They started going to nice hotels. Then they started using your garage, and finally, your house. I shook my head and threw back another shot. If you know all this, then I called the right person. You said you were thorough. Do you have evidence? I want to make them pay for this. David paused, then looked me straight in the eye. Mike, you need to think this through. This isn't going to be simple. If you still love her, you should talk to her, see if you can get her to stop. Don't burn every bridge, or you'll have no way back. He leaned forward, his voice low and serious. But if you're done with her, then we can plan this right. We don't just act. We make them regret they were ever born. We hit them so hard they lose everything. I fell silent, thinking David was right. We were married. I had to be absolutely sure before I made a decision. Otherwise, I'd only end up humiliating myself. Could our marriage be saved? For a long time, I didn't know how to answer. David just sat there with me, quietly drinking, giving me all the time I needed to think. After a long while, I finally saw it all with perfect clarity. If this had happened before Laura and I were married, it would have been different. I wouldn't have cared if she'd been with one man or 10. That would have been her business. But we were married. 3 years. For her to do this wasn't just cheating. It was a profound sign of disrespect. She didn't see me as her husband at all. So why should I show her any decency? Besides, after betraying me like this, could she really change? Even if she did, could I ever trust her again? What would happen the next time she and Victor decided to have some fun? How could I ever be intimate with her again, knowing what she'd done? It would be a poison in my mind forever. I looked up at David. Buddy, I've made up my mind. I'm done with this marriage. I want to give them both a lesson they'll never forget. Tell me what we do. I'm putting it all in your hands. I trust you. David looked at me, then a slow, grim smile spread across his face. Good. I'm glad you see it clearly. There are plenty of women in the world. No reason to hang yourself on a dead tree. When this is all over, I'll introduce you to someone great. I promise you won't be disappointed. He clapped me on the shoulder, then laid out his plan. My revenge has 3 acts. Act 1. We destroy their reputations. Act 2. We take back everything that belongs to you. Act 3. We make them pay for what they've done. I was confused. I just wanted simple revenge. Why'd it have to be so complicated? Seeing my frown, David quickly explained. These 3 acts are critical, and the order cannot be changed, or we'll lose our advantage. There are some things you don't know yet. Let me break it down for you. He then told me everything. Victor's time abroad had been a complete disaster. He hadn't come back rich and successful. He'd returned drowning in debt. Even the rich girl he'd left Laura for had dumped him, which tells you everything you need to know about what a loser he was. He was forced to come back home, and he'd been back for about 6 months. In those 6 months, he'd been busy. He managed to get over $150,000 out of Laura to start a new business. Now he was living large, with a new car and a new condo. If I sued him directly to get my money back, it would barely hurt him. He could pay it off without breaking a sweat. And even with solid evidence of the affair and the money transfer, what could I really do? The legal system moves slowly. The key was to ruin their reputations first. Then, using my own business connections, we could make sure Victor's new company went bankrupt. Once a man has no money, he's powerless. After that, we sue to get the $150,000 back. That would add insult to injury, forcing him to sell off his assets and probably take on debt from loan sharks. The final step would be to pursue criminal charges. With no money and loan sharks on his back, how would Victor survive? Even if he did, his name would be mud. He'd be a social pariah. There would be no chance of a comeback. After hearing the whole plan, I knew David was right. I told him to move forward with it immediately. 3 days later, San Francisco's business and social circles exploded. The gossip spread like wildfire across social media and industry blogs. CEO of Vance Entertainment caught an affair with a married woman, destroying her family. Utterly shameless. Wow, Victor Vance is playing a dangerous game. Guess that's how the rich entertain themselves. Exclusive scoop. All the dirty details on the Vance Entertainment scandal right here. Vance Entertainment, a promising startup once valued at over $1 million, was suddenly radioactive. Investors, partners, and even his own employees started abandoning ship. Within a week, the company was facing bankruptcy. Who wants to do business with a man who has no integrity? On top of that, my company, a reputable firm worth several million, subtly fanned the flames by playing the victim card, which only accelerated Vance Entertainment's demise. Sure enough, 10 days later, Vance Entertainment officially declared bankruptcy. Next, David presented the evidence that Victor had received $150,000 from Laura, money that was clearly marital property, transferred without my consent. On my behalf, he filed a lawsuit against Victor. A week later, the judge ruled in my favor. Victor was forced to sell his new car and condo to pay me back. Because of the rush, he had to sell them at a steep loss, leaving him $30,000 in debt to loan sharks. Just when he thought it was over and was planning to flee the country until the heat died down, the police showed up at his door. They arrested him on felony charges. David had uncovered that Laura hadn't just transferred money from our joint account. She had illegally funneled funds from my business account to Victor. That wasn't just cheating, it was embezzlement. Victor denied everything, but when the prosecution presented the bank records and digital trail, he knew it was over. While Laura wasn't married to him, her role as an accessory in a major financial crime was undeniable. In the end, both Victor and Laura were sentenced to 5 years in prison. 5 years later, they were released, completely out of touch with a world that had moved on. More importantly, Victor still owed that $30,000 to the loan sharks. With compounded interest, it had ballooned to over $300,000. How could Victor, a broke ex-con, ever hope to pay that back? Hounded by debt collectors, their lives became a living hell. They fought constantly. One day, they were both found dead in a cheap rental apartment. The cause of death was never officially determined. The rumors started immediately. Some said they killed each other in a final, violent argument. which seemed plausible. Others said Victor killed Laura and then himself, consumed by guilt. A third rumor claimed Laura had poisoned their food, hating Victor for ruining her life, and they died together. The rumors swirled, but the truth was buried with them. After my divorce from Laura, I poured all my energy into my company. 5 years later, it was worth over $10 million. David kept his promise. He introduced me to his distant cousin. She was a stunningly beautiful woman, and the moment I saw her, I felt a spark I hadn't felt in years. It was mutual. We hit it off immediately. Together, we started a new chapter, walking hand in hand into the future. I had finally found a happy new life.